I'd like to welcome you to the HealthTech Crisis Workshop. My name is Savannah Rudlin, and I am part of the partnership team here at Bene Studio. And alongside me, co-hosting tonight is Martin Eels. So Martin, give everyone a little wave and say hi so that I can see you.
Hi guys, Bingo.
And so we are going to be your co-hosts today. Our goal with this workshop is to share knowledge and help other startups and enterprises during the COVID-19 crisis. So today we are joined by Maria, CTO of Omada Health, Jay, Director of Health and Wellness Business Development at Topco Associates, as well as Balint, founder and CEO of Bene Studio. So in a moment, I'm going to open up the floor to them and just ask them to briefly introduce themselves and their organizations. But first, I'm just going to let you know how we are going to run through the order of events for today. So we are going to be discussing 3 key topics, which we feel is relevant to the times we are now facing due to the coronavirus and its impact on the economy. So the 3 topics are: what are the challenges that health tech faces, how to refocus services, and how to save or reallocate costs. So we are going to run the official panel discussions for 45 minutes, followed by a question and answer session with our panelists for the remainder of the time. If at any point you have a question for our panelists above, please feel free to drop it into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And then we will try and answer as many of them as we can at the end of the workshop. And then after the workshop, we are going to be sharing a crisis survival guide with you based on what has been discussed here so that you can reference it when you're considering your business approach and what moves to make next. So without further ado, I'd like to ask Maria to introduce herself.
Hi. My name is Maria Latushkin, and I am with Omada Health. We are a digital care program that empowers people to achieve their health goals through sustainable lifestyle change, which seems to be very topical right now. We have deep roots in helping people that are at risk of getting diabetes, and recently expanded in other areas such as type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and behavioral health. In terms of my own personal background, I have started in e-commerce and have worked for many, many years in retail, e-commerce, manufacturing types of settings. And about 2 years ago, have moved into the healthcare space. It felt to me that a lot of the things that I have learned in e-commerce are now very relevant in healthcare with the move to a value-based care and with really having more of a participant-centric view and a patient-centric view in the healthcare field. So I wanted to apply the things that I've known in this field that seem to desperately need help. I generally think that this is a very exciting time for digital care and for health tech specifically. So excited to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us, Maria. So I'm now going to ask Jay, can you introduce yourself and your organization?
Sure. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever folks are dialing in from. Hope everyone is safe and well. So I'm Jay Nadas. I'm the Director of Health and Wellness Business Development at Topco Associates currently. I've got about 25 years in retail though, and about 15 years in product development. I worked for Walgreens, a global Walgreens company, for about 20 years, and did about 10 years of product development, leading a number of business initiatives and product lines there. I consider myself a serial entrepreneur in voluntary captivity currently with Topco, because I do enjoy and really light up in the startup businesses. But the reason I like Topco, so Topco Associates is a cooperative. We are made up of 50 members who purchase approximately $185 billion worth of US products each year. And so they all have a lot of interests, and they don't necessarily have the discipline or the wherewithal to be able to filter through all the different innovative products that come across their doorsteps. So we serve as a central point for innovation, aggregation, and knowledge management for our members. Just my own personal background, I'm a pharmacist by training. I completed my doctorate in pharmacy. And I did a practice actually for a number of years as a pharmacist, but then realized that I really like the startup aspect of healthcare and saw that there were many gaps that needed to be filled. So I ended up following my passion, going in that route shortly thereafter. So very excited to be on the call today.
Thanks for joining us, Jay. And last but not least, I'd like to ask Balint to introduce himself and his organization.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Balint Bene. I'm the CEO of Bene Studio. And at Bene Studio, we develop quality applications and systems for different startups and enterprises within health tech and in many other industries as well. And personally, I have a diverse technology, design, and business background. And I'm really interested in digital product strategy and also in health tech. So I really like to follow the telehealth, mobile health, IoT variable technologies trends, and I'm happy to work with these technologies and to help people live a better life. And nowadays, I think most important is to help each other on that way how we could. So I would like to help with knowledge sharing and to organizing this event. So I'm really happy to be here and talk about health tech crisis topics.
Thank you so much, Balint, for that. So thank you all for sharing a little bit about yourselves. We're going to move straight into our first topic, which is what are the challenges that health tech faces? So we know with the crisis, all sectors are being impacted, and the tech sector isn't any different. So to just start today's discussions, I'm going to ask Maria, what could be the dangers that affect growth in the sector?
There's two things that I think are happening. One is whatever is, the health tech is here to serve people and to help people. And so you have to have people that would be willing to take on your services. And so there is while I don't think that the health tech sector is in itself is in danger, vice versa, I actually think that as we come out of this is going to be a really exciting time for health tech. And if anything, it feels that we're standing in front of something that's really big for this industry. But in the meantime, because there's so many economic pressures that everybody else is facing, there is a ripple effect. Whether the services that you provide are business to business, then you have to have employers that are willing to buy your services. If you're providing direct to consumer services, then there have to be consumers that are willing to spend the money and have the money and are able to do that. And even if they do have the money, you then also have to be for their attention span that is right now so consumed by everything that is going on. So I think it's temporary, but there is definitely the ripple effect that the health tech is feeling just like everybody else from the crisis. In general, the thing that I see crisis aside for health tech is the biggest challenge I see is as I talk to different companies, the smaller companies, the startups, is being able to navigate the complexities and the regulations of the healthcare system. So this is something that is definitely here. It was here yesterday. It will continue to be here. And so figuring out how to do it, figuring out your individual niche, depending on the services you provide, is probably the most, in terms of the challenges in distribution, the most important thing to solve.
What's about your company? So how you experience it nowadays?
The COVID effect. Well, everybody is, right? And so there is first and foremost, we want to make sure that people are safe. There have been so many changes that we had to do as a company in order to make sure that we provide the actual physical safety for our employees. We went fully remote. We closed our offices and everybody's in a fully remote position now. In terms of our clients, we also want to make sure that we provide what's most relevant for them and what's most important for them. And right now it feels that managing the stress and the anxiety out of like the slew of services that we have is really important for people. And so we gave an offering of our behavioral health, which is really the stress and anxiety offering for free for the time being. So, and I think that, every company is trying to do something that to the extent that they can, and you read in the news, like how fashion brands respond to the crisis, how manufacturing responds to the crisis. I think everybody's just trying to do whatever is in the general sphere of what they do, in trying to help either the clients directly or just the general population.
Does this answer your question, Balint?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Jay, do you have anything to add?
I think from the dangers, I think I would just want to echo a lot of what Maria said. We're in an interesting paradigm shift. So everything changed, right? There is no such thing as business as usual during a crisis. And so you have to find yourself being able to be flexible and adaptable and nimble in order to change with the tides, as it were. So a great example of that is with the gig economy. We see a lot of folks. We had 10 million workers file for unemployment over the last couple of weeks in the U.S. But large number of folks who lost their jobs just pivoted over to working for delivery companies, because you see an influx of people needing delivery. So whether it's a medication or food, whether it's takeout food or if it's your groceries, high-risk individuals should not leave their homes. So you see this growth opportunity for delivery companies to really grow. Same thing from a telehealth perspective. Maria talked about telehealth. I think that's huge. We've seen some insurance providers see upwards of 4,000% increase in the number of telemedicine visits where patients or people in general just would rather see their doctor through their phone than leaving their house and going to the doctor's offices. So I think the biggest danger is not being able to react quick enough to be able to move forward. Another big danger, though, that's out there is, like you talked about, is navigation of regulations. But through that also is navigating through the fake news, as they call it, because trust is a big thing here as well. So Zoom is a great example. We're all on Zoom, but if you're following any of the recent discussions around Zoom security concerns, and so you saw Zoom stock price grow by 300, 400%, but then it dropped back down because there is that impact of trust. That's from a tech perspective. When you look at health tech, it's even a larger risk there. COVID testing is a big piece right now. So whether you have, whether it's a nasal swab test or if it's an immunoassay test, those are right now being approved fast and furious by the FDA here in the U.S., but they're being developed all across the world. But the incidence of false negatives versus false positives can really impact the trust and can really dictate whether or not that product's going to be successful in the long term. Even if it's accurate, just wasn't communicated accurately because of one regulation or another, that could actually be a big danger.
Yeah, I totally agree that trust is one of the most important nowadays, and to add a few experiences to the growth of telemedicine nowadays, what we can see is like 50% growth per week at the biggest telehealth provider, they call a doc. And also, if we would like to register to doctor on demand as a new patient, most likely we can't get in because their waiting room is full. So we can see that this area is growing rapidly nowadays. And maybe after the crisis, the change will remain if we use to these new habits. So it can be a perspective for the health companies, but also on the other hand, there is a really interesting experience that many more established companies, providers would like to acquire telemedicine startups nowadays as soon as possible. This is my personal experience as well, since we developed telemedicine software. And also there's a big need to have own systems for the bigger players. So it can be definitely thing which attack growth for smaller companies, startups, and also for new departments at bigger companies, because they have to face bigger competition than before. And on the other hand, I would like to mention an interesting forecast. I hope it won't be true, but the fact that the virus is really dangerous nowadays, we may see that there will be a possible demographic effect of the virus. So probably after the virus, there may be less elder people in the US and in Europe. And if this forecast could be true, then it's a significant change for that health companies who served more the elder people. So for them, there could be a decrease for their services. And for many HealthTech companies who directly or indirectly serve the old people, or companies who serve the old people and so on, it can be a chain reaction. So we may see a decrease as well, not just an increase for the HealthTech services. I think it could be another danger for that startups or even bigger companies who mainly serve the older people nowadays. And it's a really sad topic, but we should discuss about it. What's your experience or opinions about it?
It's interesting. I want to build this on something. There's 2 points that you made. One was about the habits that form. And so I read it somewhere, and it was a little bit sad, but I think it's very true, is that there's no return back to normal. There's going to be a new normal. And because this is taking on a period of time where new habits will form within the society, when we come out of this, it's such a big thing that happened that there will be a shift. There will be a shift in how people consume the services and how people treat their healthcare. And to your point about the much more acceptance of telehealth, even in the traditionally physical services, people will still remember that at some point, you might be on lockdown and then it's difficult to get to a doctor, or there might be a surge. And so most likely much more interest in virtual services. I would also think about, especially when we think about older people, and the second point you made, that there's a lot of, in the news, we see a lot about this virus affecting people with comorbidities and underlying conditions, as much as just older population. So I would imagine that there's probably going to be also much more interest in preventative care, and any kind of not just episodic care and treatment, but also trying to figure out how to stay healthy. It could be wellness, we could call it different names, but it's the idea of being, trying to take charge of your care more in your own hands, and staying healthy preemptively. So any wellness types of services, and in general, it could be fitness, it could be exercise, it could be other things that help people maintain a healthy immunity.
Thanks for that, Maria. I actually have a point that I had in my head based on what Balint was saying earlier regarding startups. So you've been saying that there is going to be a growth possibly after this, but do you think that there are difficulties for startups entering the sphere currently? And if you think there are difficulties, what do you think they are?
I can start on that if you don't mind. there are definitely opportunities if you're aligned with the needs of the marketplace today. So I think if you can figure out a way to connect your topic, your product, to what people need today based on this crisis, then you will see growth. And that's evident in a lot of different things. I think if you look at telehealth companies, their growth is just a true testament to that. But if you can't align, then you will have a lot of trouble getting exposure and garnering interest. So I'm overseeing a number of different startups right now, and we've had to put 3 or 4 of them on pause because they just have no place right now, whether it's a face-to-face service, which again, face-to-face isn't growing. So we had to pivot it to virtual. Or if it is a topic that is considered more discretionary spend. So I know Balint talked about the economy here, and if there are less people there to pay for certain items, and if it's the wrong demographic because they're just no longer, either they don't have extra money to spend because they don't have jobs, or they're just not around because of casualties to the disease, then yeah, you have to be able to pivot to be able to stay relevant to your funders as well as to your consumers.
Thanks, Jay. Maria or Balint, do you have something to share on this?
The thing that is probably makes sense for everybody, but is specifically felt in the startup when the company is young and you probably don't have ample funds, is even looking at the financial, like at the recession of the 2008, companies that are most like the fastest to pivot or to think through new opportunities when the rug is pulled from under them are the ones that we see that they do the best. And so figuring out how to be very judicious with the cash burn in the meantime to weather the crisis, and then at the same time not being penny wise and pound foolish, still making sure that you do invest where it makes sense to invest, and you think really out of the box about the future possibilities that this new situation creates, as well as like being very brutally honest about the even if you had a direction that was amazing and was very near and dear to your heart, but it just is not, it's no more. Being brutally honest about it and trying to see how to potentially change, pivot, and what to do, and do that really quickly.
I totally agree that to remain flexible or start to be flexible is more than important now. And on the other hand, these startups and also the new departments of bigger companies who are working in HealthTech, they should be providing quality from day one. So I think this is the biggest challenge, to provide the quality technology and to keep the trust from day one, like security or HIPAA compliance, and also the communication with the users, with the patients. So if there is just one small error, it can be ruined. So I believe that this is the biggest challenge. And also what we can see from big tech companies like Microsoft just releasing a new booking tool for hospitals and doctors, and these big tech companies and also big health providers invest a lot of money nowadays. So I think this increased competition pushes the smaller companies also to invest as much as possible into their services nowadays, and maybe they can benefit from it later. But now what we can see is all the companies starting free services, giving out these technologies for the people as fast as possible. So I think it's also a big challenge for smaller companies with less funding to survive this period while everybody is investing heavily into the health tech industry.
Thanks for that, Balint. I've seen that a couple of themes that have been coming up between all of you is trust, reaction, and just how to refocus. So that actually brings us to my next topic, which is how to refocus our services. So under the current economic climate, how are we going to refocus our services and our service offerings, our goals, our targets, and even our market? How do we do that in the health tech sphere? And so I want to start off by asking Jay, do you need to refocus? Have you been telling your startups, I know that you said that the face-to-face ones can't actually go, but have you been able to guide other companies on how to refocus their approaches and their services?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely opportunity to refocus regardless of who you are. If you have something that's relevant today, you have to be quick. We've talked about that, is you have to make sure you get a turnkey solution, very simple, very easy steps, because especially during the crisis, a lot of customers don't have the time to sift through, PDFs with multiple pages. Give me the 3 things I have to do today, and you will become the startup that I will use for my products and my services. So we have refocused to in many cases, new contenders, so new startups have actually outpaced ones that we had already been working with, just because the ones we're working with weren't able to react quick enough. So we refocused on speed being a priority, although quality, to Balint's point, is a really close second. For those that we can't work with right now, we do advise them to focus their efforts on refining their product. So in many cases, if there's a gap, whether it's in consumer research, primary or secondary, or if their pitch isn't quite right, or if their market analysis still has some holes in it, they said, hey, why don't you use this time to go back to the drawing board and refine some of what you're bringing to the table. But then, from a focus perspective internally, we've also restructured as well, so that we're borrowing resources from areas that may not have as high of an impact, to be able to focus on things like analytics, looking at active product ingredients and where are they coming from, and are we going to have a global problem if certain products don't have the raw materials that we need, so on and so forth. So yeah, absolutely, refocusing is a crucial step, and we've had to do it. This is a good example of just that we're all on Zoom. It's a great, we used to meet in meetings, and now we're all independently dialing in and having conversations over a tiny little box in front of us.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that now, since people are forced to use technology under lockdown in their homes, it could provide an opportunity as well for digital companies, because we can reach that people in their homes as while as we can use internet, and hopefully this virus doesn't affect that parts of the economy which provides the internet for us. So it can be the base of our refocuses, and what I hope is that since now the government, the insurers, the bigger employers are forced to allow technology and digital services because they have no other chance. I hope that after the virus, this approach will remain a bit, and I think there will be room for helping these big institutes to increase their digitalization programs. So there could be a lot of opportunities for smaller startups or even for bigger companies to help governments, insurers, or large employers to transform their working into a sustainable digital way. What do you think about it?
I think there's definitely, I agree a lot. I had an interesting moment right in the beginning of the lockdown in San Francisco, where my daughter needed to go to pediatrician, and it's and obviously she couldn't, and it's a very old office, and the doctors there are older. And so and they're not very technologically savvy. And so that was my first moment where I saw, we met via Zoom, and they had a consultation with my daughter via Zoom. And so it wasn't just a company, you know, that is a telemedicine company where you call, you know, a doctor that is trained this way. I start seeing it permeating in all kinds of different areas of the world, and people are changing. And I'm hoping that, to your point, the government will also recognize it, and the bigger companies will recognize it. And then there's hopefully is going to be this shift with much more acceptance and much more speed of execution and approval in getting to be much more digitally savvy. So I think that there's going to be a lot of interesting changes. I'm not sure which ones yet, but there definitely will be.
Yeah, and there may be another kind of structural change that previously there were the situation when the healthcare system was an authority, and we, the people, had to do what the system and the doctors say, and it works on some way, but what the modern services try to provide is a more democratic, more conversion-based, more patient-centric service, and it was the minority just before. But I think that now, since people are forced to take care of themselves because hospitals are closed for the non-urgent cases, and everybody should remain at home, so everybody must self-care somehow, which is kind of a new do-it-yourself era or something like that. But I feel a positive effect because now we are forced to take care of ourselves. So after the virus, we maybe need this autonomy as well. So it could affect the working of the bigger systems as well. What do you think about it?
Jay, I see you nodding your head. So I wanted to ask if you've got some feedback on what Balint said.
It's all across the system. So I think we are seeing every week something is changing, and regulation is being forced to catch up quickly. I think I go back to testing right now is probably one of the biggest areas of opportunity. We see a new test be approved every day by the FDA. But I just got off a call before this, and there are hundreds more right behind it because there's so much opportunity for growth. But one of the biggest challenges is the process that it takes to get approved. And the same thing with telemedicine, right? It was the same challenge of getting uptake. And both of those areas have seen explosive growth just because of this crisis. And I hope that the fixes that we put in place today to make it through the crisis will exist afterward, because it's been really great for health tech to be able to challenge a lot of what was considered normal. And now, as Maria said, we're not getting back to that normal. There's going to be a new normal, and I hope, and I am doing everything I can to influence it as well, that telemedicine will become a large portion of the new normal, that faster approvals for regulations for services and protective equipment and testing will be available, and that being able to reallocate resources to be able to get products to where they are needed most. I hope that we all learn from this, and that it becomes part of that new normal. So
I think another area that will see a lot of uptick is interoperability. And as all of you said, is that us being, now in our little screens, in our homes, and working, like trying to do-it-yourself method, trying to figure out the care as the hospital system is overwhelmed. People are trying different things, and being able to connect the data points about our health data going back and forth is going to become paramount.
I think this is really important what Maria said, because to fuel this self-care with data and with tools and applications, I think it's a huge potential for the whole health tech industry, because if the people are more independent, more proactive, then it's easier to give them tools and techniques and applications than before.
Thank you. Thank you all for that. I'm just going to quickly ask the last question so that we can speak about our final topic. So our final topic is how to save or reallocate costs. So in the time of crisis, I think this is really essential, especially with just a general economic crisis happening due to COVID. So I'd like to start with Jay and just ask how best would you advise to save or reallocate costs?
I think some of it is that you have to make some difficult decisions. So I know that in some cases, stopping all production because you're not able to continue forward is actually a better decision than trying to continue on and then becoming solvent and then trying to find new sources of funding. So look at your burn rate, see where you can reallocate resources or make those tough decisions to stop. In many cases, you've got probably really strong employees who can take advantage of part-time opportunities. So whether it's with the gig economy, so as a delivery person or working as one of these telemedicine coaches, and there are other opportunities that your employees can support during this time if that's the right decision for you. If you have capital, as we talked about, this is a good time to, if your product is relevant, great, grow it and get it to the right people. Make sure that everyone knows what you can do. Be very simple and straightforward with what you could bring to the table. And if you have a product that's not relevant yet, but you can see where it's going to come back into the field, I mean, this is a good time to provide product line extensions, whether it's coaching for other groups like yourself, whether it's doing webinars, live casts. Those are important things that you can keep yourself busy, keep your company's name in the news and the media. Talk about things that you're doing to give back to the community. Work on your why, right? Work on what else is that makes your company more relevant. So again, if you have capital and you're not that relevant, you can actually do other things to continue to be relevant in the marketplace. But then again, if you are very relevant, then so with us, for example, what we do is exactly that: is find out where you have some ability to shuffle labor, shuffle costs. Some things you have to pay for up front, like protective equipment right now. So you have to find budgets where you can beg, borrow, and steal to be able to pay for it. But that means other things that have to slow down. And so it's an important time to be able to make those difficult decisions on what should slow down and what should be really pushed forward.
Thanks. I think that's some really great advice. Maria, I saw you nodding as well. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the same things that Jay said. I would say that, just kind of like to frame it, if everything around you changes and you act the same, something's wrong. And so this is the time to really think through, just stop and reevaluate priorities. The priorities in the company should change. And it depends, again, like on whether you're relevant right now and you have amazing opportunity, or there's something where you just have to weather out the storm, but something has to change. And so I would say, resilient companies, they cut costs ahead of the curve. You don't want to try to eke out and continue the way it is, and then just like it becomes this death spiral. So having the hard conversations early, stopping, reprioritizing, deciding where those opportunities are that you want to double down and like figure out how you pay for it would be important. And then just being very honest with yourself in which categories of investment might have been great yesterday, but they're just not right now. And they might be tomorrow again, but just not right now.
I totally agree with Maria, and it's a really difficult situation for many companies, because during a crisis, it makes sense to save costs as much as possible. But if the company especially a HealthTech company would like to move forward now, then it's a must to invest in development, invest in marketing, which is a costly thing. So on the other hand, where we can save is the non-strategic or non-core costs, like the office space, travel, and so on. We can move more into the remote environment after the virus as well, not just now when it's mandatory. So we may save costs in our operation. And also what I see at startups and bigger companies as well is that they try to decrease their in-house activities, so they can switch the focus fast. They can move fast, and they use external resources and to outsource on a project base at the activities. It could give the flexibility to the company, and also it can be a cost saving tactic, because these costs are not ongoing costs, or can be cancelled quite fast. And also with a smaller team, the startups and also the enterprise departments can change the priorities faster. So this outsourcing can be also tactic for many companies. What's your opinion about it?
I think, yeah, briefly, I'm aligned with that. I think any chance you can outsource where it helps save money, but it doesn't compromise quality. Absolutely.
Maria, would you like to say anything on that?
I think it's quality. It's definitely quality and privacy and security and compliance as well. I would also say it's whether this is your secret sauce or not, right? There would be certain areas where these are the things you do, but it's not your why. It's not, the thing you do. And so separating the ones that are your secret sauce from the ones that are basically commodity services that you used to do to yourself, and maybe you don't have to, that's also a decision point to have.
Thanks. Balint, does that really help?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think now it's a really challenging situation to focus on both cost saving and investing into the future as well.
Yeah. So I think that gives us all a lot to think about with regards to quality and looking at where we need to figure out what our secret sauce is and what our why is. So with that, it ends our formal part of the panel discussion. I see that we've got some questions here. So I'm going to start with a question that says, I don't know if it's addressed to anybody, so anybody can answer this. What do you think? Will companies be more active supporting the well-being of their workers? Will they spend more money on them? Currently, 60+% of companies have a cost cut or cost stop situation when well-being would be more important than ever.
So I could start on this from our perspective. I can tell you it's probably that they will spend they'll spend it differently. So what you have is where they spend their money from a well-being perspective is going to change. I know my company in particular has spent a considerable amount of time developing a wellness platform right now and working with a couple of different partners so that our employees are engaged, that they feel connected, especially right now in the crisis when they are isolated, and many of them are living alone or with one other person, and you're in lockdown. So there's a risk there from mental health perspective. So we're investing more in mental health right now, and so I think you're going to see that stick around, but it might take money away from somewhere else, and where that is, it depends on how the new normal will occur afterward.
Thanks, Maria.
I think that even in the times of austerity, investing in your employees is crucial for any company. But it will be different how you invest. And when you think about what matters the most, because it's not the amount of money you spend per person, is how you're able to take care of them as a company. And so what matters the most right now probably differs in different industries and different environments. But being not being tone deaf is really important, and figuring out what matters the most and trying to hit that note with the employees would probably be a very, very wise thing to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with Maria. And for example, at Bene Studio, we believe that to take care of each other within the team is really important, and during these times, it's even more important. However, we are remotely, but we are doing calls every day with each other, and in groups as well, to try to help in different issues, even more than other times. So I believe that that it pays off in a long run, because now everybody needs team, needs support. So I think if a company can help, can provide it at least a bit, then it's a big help to the people, to the team members, and also it's good things to do. So personally, I would like to help as much as possible to my team members and also to the wider community, how I can do. Thank you,
Balint and Jane Maria, for that. And Gabor, I hope that that answered your question. So next is to Maria. It's from Arpad, and it says, Maria's mentioned we can expect a growth in wellness and fitness as a result of the virus outbreak. I think we have already been past the big boom in these industries. Can you explain how you see further growth in this industry?
I don't have a crystal ball, obviously, but so I don't know if saying we can expect is maybe a little bit too aggressive, but I can walk you through my logic. Given that this the virus is actually hitting people with underlying conditions seemingly the most, there is a logical leap that one can make in terms of people trying to get healthier. And so whether that's actually like whether it's a wellness app or it's something else, the form that this would take may vary. But the idea that people would be much more motivated to try to take care of their health one way or another, I think is a reasonable suggestion.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you, Arpad, for that question.
Can I answer? I would like to jump in there real quick.
Go for it,
just because I think you're seeing a little stagnation here, but we've definitely not passed the big boom. 60% of Americans still have one health condition, and 70% are taking at least one medication. When you look at staggering numbers like that, there is a need for wellness. The issue is the zeitgeist concept of what is wellness and what isn't. And so some people still think of it as a little bit of Eastern medicine. Wellness is a foreign term. I know from a health tech perspective, we'd love to get to a time when people don't call it wellness. It's just being, right? And that's where well-being is probably the term that's being thrown around a lot more. But I would say that if you're a startup in the health tech space around wellness and fitness, it's not that it's past the big boom. It's that we just have to pivot and maybe reinvent how you're addressing that. Because I could tell you, for one, every one of my members is looking for services that are aligned with this dimension of wellness. Is the physical wellness, and so there's a big opportunity there. It's just how you figure it out. How do you price it in a way that is again, we talked about how do you restructure funding, and so it has to be priced right. It can't be one of these boutique wellness things. It has to be more focused on more population health, and how do you impact that on a larger data scale.
Yeah, one thing to add is that to the boutique concept, it's also, people are much more payer specifically interested in outcomes, and to the extent that you can show in one way or another how your solution actually creates outcomes, that would be an important value proposition.
Thank you for that. I'm going to try do a few more questions if we've got some time, if that's okay with you panelists. Yeah?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so then we have Antal saying, do you see any speed up in regulatory procedures? Do FDA have the will and or capacity to support new innovative solutions to enter the market quickly?
I can start on that since I just got off the FDA call prior to this call. The answer is yes. It just depends on where, right? So if you have so right now it's really focused on COVID testing, that they've created some emergency use authorization procedures that have accelerated the approval. There are additional approvals being on the pharmaceutical side and on the vaccination side that we are seeing and we're tracking. Beyond that, so like 510K clearance for certain programs, we haven't seen them slow down. I think it's just more the acceleration is based on where the market needs it.
Yeah, I think the pressure is bigger than before. So I hope that that it's not just for a few months, but it can change the processes in the long run as well.
Yeah, so it keeps its momentum.
Crossing fingers.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. What are some of the technical challenges you are having in health tech now besides regulatory procedure? For example, security and verification issues while using telehealth services and making sure patients and providers are speaking to the right person. Can anyone answer this?
I don't think they're COVID related necessarily, but as you get more, this is a nascent, I don't want to say it's a nascent technology, it's a nascent approach really. We've talked about interoperability a lot, but there's, the healthcare space is still very disjointed. And so figuring out how to get one provider speaking to another provider, there's lots of people still exchange faxes. And how to do this and how to make sure that you are able to get information in a consistent form is oftentimes a challenge. So it's not, the technology challenges I see there is still not having a critical mass of institutions being able to exchange data in a secure and automated way. And so keeping on pushing this. And there's a lot of companies that are aggregators. There's whole sub-industry around it, which I'm very excited about. And I'm hoping that it's gonna continue pushing the whole healthcare ecosystem to the world of more interoperable world. But that challenge still exists. And how do you maintain somebody's trust by not, matching them with the wrong lab results? And at the same time, how do you do that in a world that's doesn't necessarily have uniform standards everywhere?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest challenge for all the health tech companies to keep that trust through the technology, what they are using. And on the other hand, what I can see is that that many people give up a bit of the privacy because they would like to get the results. So, okay, I have a Hangouts call with my doctor. Maybe I care less about my privacy because I have an urgent need, and for me, it's a benefit to talk with my doctor, and I don't care that much about my privacy. It also can be a trend. What do you think about this trend?
I'd like to just jump in and say, yeah, what you're seeing right now in this crisis is people are actually creating workarounds for interoperability. And so you're right on with the privacy piece is that right now folks are saying, I need something now, this is available, I'm gonna work around, whether it's going to multiple applications to be able to do something, or whether it's accepting a lower security capability in order to be treated quicker. So I would agree that this is an area that unfortunately is not being addressed by this crisis, but probably for the right reasons, in that it's more important to serve the need right now than it is to create that. I just hope that afterward there's enough of a continued movement of identified areas where interoperability could have helped, that it could help stimulate some growth in that area.
Thank you so much. That is all the time we have for today. I know we still have some questions remaining, but we're going to try and get back to you written form about those. So I just really want to say thank you to Jay, Maria, and Balint for just taking the time to spend it with us and for their really invaluable input and thoughts and answers on it. So I just wanted to remind everyone that we are going to be sharing a crisis survival guide with you in the next few days. So please look and keep an eye on your mail for that. And then we would also really appreciate it if you would share your feedback with us regarding this workshop and possible future workshops. So we will also contact you about that. So thank you so much. We really value your help and your openness. And we really hope to see you again soon. So thank you so much, panelists, and thank you, audience. We will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.